keep it exciting. Put out a few controversial questions for the panelists to have a debate, right? Healthy debate. But before we begin, everyone, I just wanted to do a quick introduction of myself and then maybe a quick 2 minutes over across the table, because while everyone the customer service portfolio of products for Salesforce India.
Hi, my name is Farid. I head the Unified Customer Engagement at Tyson.
Hi, good evening. My name is Chetan Borkar. I'm the country manager for CM India.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Ankit Goenka, Head Customer Experience for 𝗏𝗏 𝗏𝗏 General Insurance.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ashwin Narkhede from Tata AIG. I look after their customer app and MarTech implementations.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Harkaran Singh and I'm from Apollo Hospitals.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Sreemoyee and I represent Philips. I head this Center of Excellence on Customer Experience.
Hi, my name is Anuradha. I head 𝗬𝗍𝗶𝘁 division globally for Lenovo.
Anuradha, since you have the mic, let me get started with you. So just wanted to open out with a very simple question, especially since the organization you represent, Lenovo, straddles the world of B2B and B2C, right? And I'm sure there are multiple channels through which your customers reach out to you. The traditional channels that we are all used to, telephone, email, what do you think their relevance is going to be, let's say, in the next 5 years?
I think the relevance has already shifted in the last 2 years. So I'm going to, comment on, or rather refer to a couple of things. Like Farid was saying, 10x more engagement in non-traditional channels, right, when it comes to Titan. And that's not different anywhere for any businesses today. We did speak about Apollo. How many consultations happened online? I think everything happened online, right? And it's not very different for B2B either. So looking at what has happened over the last 2 years, we know that a smallest of a person, youngest of a user, a child, is now so savvy using a laptop, receiving his education. So the only means of communication today seem to be, the most powerful mean happens to be online. You walk anywhere, you walk in outside the schools, you'll see children with mobiles. They're not talking to each other. They're chatting with each other through their mobile, where the friend is standing next to them. So the channel of communication or engagement has already shifted and pandemic just accelerated it, right? And I'll give you a couple of examples from Lenovo's side, especially Lenovo India, because you all may be able to relate to it much more. What happened interestingly in Lenovo India in last 2 years was laptops or high-end machine from an Indian perspective for a middle-class family was an expensive item to purchase, right? So there was always this habit of going to the store, seeing things, feeling things, experiencing things, and then buying a laptop. If you're buying it for your son or for yourself, it was how a consumer bought a laptop, right? Most of the middle class family. That thing was not available anymore. So what did Lenovo India people do? They created a way of providing customized demos on video calls. People then could compare laptops on video calls. Then we delivered laptops at the doorstep. So we had to go a step extra because obviously people were scared of stepping out of their homes. So we delivered the laptops at the doorstep. There are countries in the world where we have seen that customer service did not operate only from behind the doors because, of course, call centers came home. Our agents were taking calls from home with the baby crying in the background. That was the situation, right? And field force was limited. But we have also seen where people have actually gone out of their way. We have had customer agents taking the mobile van with everything required from door to door and repairing machines, where the complaint was logged online. So you're already seeing a huge shift in the way the customer is trying to engage, and also in tune to that, organizations are changing the way they engage. Right now, if you see, it is more like a hybrid that came up during pandemic because certain things could not be done remote, right? But what it triggered is a huge acceleration in the way that technology is utilized today to deliver any experience. You see any app, you see any ways of remote troubleshooting. It is far more powerful and effective than what it used to be 2 years ago. Every industry. So relevance from a human perspective, the requirement of human emotion would remain, empathy would remain. You will still require a human brain to cut the noise and go to the core of the issue, that would remain. But relevance in terms of having a person walking footfall in the store may not be as a strong indicator of your popular brand as the hits on your website. So that is the fundamental shift that has happened.
I think everyone will be unanimous on agreeing to what you just said. Humanizing service, I think that's a big takeaway, right? That's what's going to remain. While the traditional channels could possibly change, even what we're using today might suddenly have a very quick death, and we might have something new pop up which we haven't even anticipated. So, point well noted. On taking the same conversation a little further, right? And I wanted to point it out to Sreemoyee. We speak about engagement, and the example that Anuradha spoke about, right? How we had to shift ourselves during the pandemic and try and give that engagement to the customer, drive that experience. Right? It always doesn't translate because sometimes we are still in that whole tactical lens of what kind of interactions are we doing? How many calls did we get? Right? How many tickets did we close? So when we are looking at that interaction mindset versus an engagement mindset, right? Everyone wants to move from here to here, but what is the template that would work the best across industries, right? I'm sure the panel will have a lot of thoughts around this, but if you could please start it off, and then I'll open it out to everyone else.
Of course. I think I'll just start out by saying that as, when I started to, hear your question, the first thing that I thought is, as a consumer, you just want to log in a ticket, but somebody is hell-bent on doing a sales pitch with you. Would that really sell to you? I don't think it would. So I think it's a combination of two things. One part of it is, I think one of my previous speakers already mentioned it, CX is EX. So unless you have the right people in the right places, your frontline is basically everything. So unless you have that core frontline, a strong frontline, nothing will really turn in from an interaction to an engagement. So that's the first very important template that for you to have. And then the second one is that you can always have a very strong frontline, but what are you equipping them with? So are you able to create the kind of processes? For example, somebody might be very annoyed, like Philips has air fryers, for example, and somebody may be very annoyed because a very newly bought product is not working. So, at that point in time, do you go in and tell them that, there are so many other accessories you can buy? Wrong, very wrong decision to make. So if you know that, if you have trained your people in the right way, then I think that template of interaction quickly changes into an engagement. So you first accept whatever has gone wrong with the product, then provide whatever is the assurance that the customer is looking for, and only then do you maybe broach the topic of, say, we have this wonderful cookbook or a blog that has come up for an air fryer, and would you be interested? I could send you the link, and so on. So an interaction ticket turns into an engagement. So I think these are the two very important things that every organization, irrespective of which domain you are in, which industry you are in, you need to have these two things absolutely down to perfection to get to an engagement.
Thank you so much, Sreemoyee, and I'd just like the panel to open up. Chetan, please.
Yeah, thank you. So I just want to say that if you see what is changing is the way that we approach any situation, right? And the way forward is going to be conversational. So conversational commerce is what is going to drive the future, right? And ticketing is going to deplete. It's important. It's losing its importance. The real-time way of solving any problem, scenario, or even inquiring about a product is conversational, right? That's what everyone is speaking about, and I went through Fareed's presentation, Mr. Goenka's presentation, and everyone, right? It's a bot that is powering, right? It's the conversational channels that are powering the brands to have a conversation with the consumer. So conversational commerce is the way forward, wherein you have on one side the relevant channels for communication, be it email, phone calls, WhatsApp, and the new age channels. And then you have the platforms to support or to make sure that all the interactions come through or via different sources, but land on one unified platform altogether. And every department has a 360-degree view of your customer, right? And then if you see where we are heading also is towards consumer AI, right? What do you do when you have this data, right? You drive intelligence with the help of an AI engine. Then it doesn't matter whether you have Zendesk, Freshdesk, CM products, or any other product, right? It's the
You can
brain
say
who is
Salesforce
driving.
also.
So it's the brain who's going to drive all the interactions. It's the brain who's going to take decisions. It's the brain who's going to help you take that decision, right? From engagement to retention to growth as well, right? So conversational commerce is the way forward.
Ankit?
Sandeep, the way I look at it, right? You talked about interaction, you talked about engagement in a model, right?
Right.
Right. When you look at interactions, I would say it's reactive. Okay, it is when there is a problem, you don't know about it, and your customer is telling you that there is a problem, right? Engagement is proactive,
Right.
right? Where you know that there is a problem before your customer comes to you, you go back to the customer, and hence the model comes into the play that today in any organization, right? Typically, when we look at our service tickets, right, there is some failure.
Absolutely.
Right, the typical ACPT that we do, you know, the analysis of paralysis and all those stuff, right? Now, can you create that model which is identifying that ACPT before the customer does it? And then there is a proactive communication to the customer that, hey, you know, we do understand that we have failed on this, but this is the ETA for the delivery of your product, of the service. Rather than the customer creating that interaction for you, you create that engagement. Right, so I guess that's the key.
Absolutely. Would anyone like to weigh in? Otherwise,
Sure. Yeah. So I would like to take few things from Ankit's presentation itself. Like today, our customers have become impatient, right? And in terms of like, let's say, talk about insurance itself, right? I mean, today, if you look at any customer, he will try to interact with you only when there is a reaction. I mean, let's say it is a claim, it is an endorsement, something needs to be changed or something on those lines. But like, if you really want to get the lifetime value from a customer, you need to engage with the customer, and not necessarily for these specific events, but also events where the customer feels like, okay, I'm getting something apart from a specific accident or something else, right? And today, because of the regulatory changes which have happened, luckily for insurance industry, I think that engagement is going to be possible in terms of value added services, in terms of something else. Like Sreemoyee was talking in terms of air fryers, right? I mean, you create cookbooks where the customer feels more engaged in something else, right? Like you're not trying to force fit something for him, rather than you're letting him explore. It's like you can't really give all your reins in the customer's hand also, right? Because the customer not necessarily understands what he wants and what he needs. These are two different aspects in which usually a user or a customer keeps on fighting again, right? I mean, and you have to control it in some way, but you also have to make the customer feel that he has that freedom to explore, right? I mean,
absolutely, absolutely. I think these are very diverse points of view, right? Same question, multiple answers ranging from how can we make an interaction into an engagement, to how does the model change, to what are the systems which can define, and what is the dependency that we have on systems to define this, vis-a-vis what are the frameworks that open up for us to monetize or increase revenue channels, right? I'm sure the audience has a lot to take away from this, but I am just loving it. So thanks so much. I have one more such question heading out, and since and I didn't plan this, but they're sitting together, I just want to point it to both Ashwin and Harkaran. We spoke about how we measure our effectiveness. Right? We spoke about how we measure customers' experience. Now, customers' experience is primarily an outcome of their expectations. and our performance organizationally is very KPI driven. Right? What's our TAT mean? What's our FCR rates? What's our CSAT? What's our NPS? So, what is the balance that can get driven? Right? How do we manage customers' expectations on having that perfect solution to their problem vis-a-vis our internal expectations? How does that balance work? If you could give me a
I would like to take this one. And,
please.
I think, is
Yeah,
this
it's working.
working? Okay. So, one example I would like to quote here. We all know, in case if anybody of your family members or you've gone through Apollo or any hospital, let's say, insurance claim, let's say, insurance team is also here. So I will correlate both. So you're waiting for a discharge. Doctor has said, okay, you go home. Okay, but you're waiting for your team, your insurance company to approve. There are so many queries which comes up related to policy documents and blah blah, whatever you've disclosed, not disclosed. Those kind of nuances are there. Still, at times we have seen approvals takes time, right? We all accept. I personally accept. There is obviously at internal matrix also, when we talk about, there is a difference for a TAT for a cash patient is different versus an insurance patient, right? But now we have to measure and take care of our customer experience as well, and also parallelly our PNL. It should not get hit. What we do is, as you all referred and you talked really well about engaging customers. So TLC's program, which I just spoke about, that's how we proactively go and engage with our customers. We get to know about them. And obviously these patients who are coming, they're coming, taking follow-ups with doctors. So doctors, we have two kind of customers. One is obviously our patients, second is our doctors. So doctors are also customers for us, right? So we take care of both of their experiences. Now there is a patient who's waiting for an insurance approval. What we will do is we'll allow this patients to go home. We'll take a call on that. I understand it might hit my PNL if I don't get an approval. But yes, we do take those calls. We take approvals, allow our patients to go home. They can come back the next day and settle the bill. It's okay. Let's say 1 lakh is the outstanding. Approval will come late night. 80,000 approval came, 20,000 to be paid. Patient can pay next day. But we call it, we allow our patients to go home. So that is how we try to manage between both customer expectation versus our organization's targets or revenues. And what I have seen personally, when we take care of our customer expectations, PNL is taken care by customer, trust me. So this is purely my experience.
And a very humanizing moment as well, right? I mean, someone's getting discharged from the hospital. It's a time for joy, but at the same time, there are situations when we are going through personal loss when this incident happens, right? So I think it's a brilliant initiative, actually, frankly. So.
Yeah. So since it's a claim question, again coming back to that. So see, I mean, in terms of what happens is when a customer, again, like, I mean, when a customer is trying to reimburse his claim or has just filed a claim, right? At these kind of incidents, what happens is whenever the customer feels uncertainty or impatient, those kind of are the times where there is an expectation mismatch, and that's where you try to figure out what is the customer's expectation at this point of time. So these kind of things could potentially be addressed by improving, let's say, the communication or reducing maybe the complication when it comes to the jargon words in insurance, which everybody is trying to reduce, and trying to deliver that information in such a way that each and every customer today can digest it, right? So that is what something that everyone in insurance industry is trying to do. And if you, going back to the question, right, where, yeah, like, I mean, how do you measure this versus the business, right? So for those cases, there are some situations. So practically what you can't really measure few things. You can't really quantify them as soon as you plan them, right? So there are some POCs which you really have to just take a punt on it, like get your board agreed to something that, okay, these are the matrices that I am going to track. Maybe I don't track it from a revenue perspective, but okay, this is the budget and we will take a punt on these three things and we take it ahead. And once that POC is completed, at that point of time, you actually figure out whether the hypothesis was correct, whether it was wrong, what kind of tweaks I can make and make it successful. And based on, and after that, now you create matrices which are aligned with your business, right? Then it can actually flow in. Because otherwise, if you always try to quantify things too much, you would not go ahead with such kind of experiments. And then, I mean, that is kind of like, I mean, to put it simply, it becomes like a legacy organization and a startup difference, right? I mean, in a startup, you take some risks, just take few punts and go ahead with it. Some things hit, some things don't. I mean, it's just a risk that you have to go ahead and look.
And the way we look at Magic, and especially in my department, which perhaps you can call it as a cost center, typically, right? And all the initiatives that you do, the end result, obviously, as you talked about, is CSAT, NPS, and all those stuff. The real thing for a CFO is, okay, you have the highest NPS, okay, that's good, but where is the money, right? So what we did, we said that, hey, if we are delivering a superior experience, right? We are making the customer happy. We are exceeding the expectations. That seva, that care, has to turn into samruddhi, which is the revenue. So seva se samruddhi is one of the initiatives, that we track at each and every, agent level, each and every CX person level, right? We say that, okay, your CSAT, your NPS is this. What is your seva se samruddhi number? Right? Is it correlating? Right? If it's not correlating, hey, there is a problem. Right? Because that CSAT is of no use. Right? Because a customer who's really satisfied, who's really happy with you, right, will definitely give you more business. Right? Will definitely tell, okay, now you take these 5 names and talk to them for the policies. You will definitely get those policies. Right? If that customer is not doing it, right, the customer referral program, which is the age-old program, but the point is that tie it up with this.
Correct.
Right? And the other piece is that, especially for CX folks, we say that you don't have to sell. If we find somebody in CX selling, he'll be thrown out. Right? You can't talk about it.
Absolutely.
After you have delivered a superior experience.
Yes. It resonates very heavily also, right? Because customer experience is not about piling on someone, right? It's also about trying to give them what they want while getting yourself what you want. So,
At the end of the day, the bottom line, the top line for any business is the key, right? You can't have a business where, let's say, your NPS is the highest, but hey, on the revenue numbers, the profit numbers, you're not doing good. That's of no use.
I mean, it's the definition of a business, right? We're all here to drive our top lines and bottom lines. I just had a thought coming to me, right? This is a very diverse panel that we have here, right? We have straight from representatives from retail, right, and e-commerce, of course. Onwards to high tech, onwards to electronics, healthcare, insurance, and of course, IT solution providers. Right? So we look at the spectrum, right? We're all talking the same things about customer experience, right? But our target audience are very different. Right? Some of us are focused on very traditional B2B engagements, and some of us are very B2C oriented, and some like Lenovo straddle both worlds. So just coming back to this point, and again I'll point it to you, Anuradha, to take away. What is that paradigm shift when you talk about experience in B2B versus experience in B2C?
It's very interesting. I know that people say the lines are blurring, and they are. I wouldn't say no, because as I'm sitting here as a professional, I was also walking out to take a call from my son. I'm a mother and individual at the same time, so that doesn't change. But having said that, there's a fundamental difference when it comes to what's at stake and how many cooks are cooking the dish, right? When it comes to dealing with a consumer, the number of people that you're influencing probably would be much smaller, the person who's going to use and a person who's going to pay in most of the cases, right? When it comes to organizations, it will be the people who are going to use, is the people who have a say in the decision making, hence influencers, people who are going to shell out the money, and a whole department who's actually managing the whole process of procurement, right? And it doesn't stop there. There's a lot of say, which is also by the third-party vendors who are present in this customer's premise, the service providers, the infrastructure management companies, So the shift, the change that happens here is how many people are you trying to engage and influence so that we're able to deliver that experience in favor of the brand that we represent, right? That's where again the whole process also changes. The consumer decision making window will be quite smaller than a B2B window of decision making. So you're not hand holding a person in terms of a few weeks or few days based on what you're buying in consumer scenario. You're actually hand holding an organization throughout its existence. So again, the shift is the consistent delivery of the same level of experience based on the different role that a person is playing with whom you're interacting, and hence the different channels, hence the different offerings, hence the different benefit analysis. And in middle of all of this, being able to influence a third party channel partner who could be providing the end mile, the last mile solution. So he or she, that organization also has to represent your brand. So that is where I think there's still a huge difference between consumer CX versus the B2B CX.
Very
And,
well
yeah.
articulated. Thank you.
Just wanted to add to that I think the core of this question is basically delivery. So how do you deliver, right? So with a retail customer, you can choose to customize. You have n number of data points digitally available to you to be able to do so. But I mean, and I'm being totally honest to you because I struggle with this on a day-to-day basis. How do you do that for your B2B, right? Because as rightly Anuradha said, the decision makers and your users could be very disparate groups. Like the decision maker could be the CEO of Apollo, and the user could be the technician who uses the CT machine, for example. So in those cases, I think what has really, I'm trying to create that distinction. I spoke about customization. For B2B, we try to do personalization. So that personalization is based on the brand, the B2B brand to which you are selling or who is your customer. There you try to create listening posts, you try to create cadences where people go in and listen a little proactively and not in a very sales pitchy kind of a way. So that has definitely worked for us, especially post the pandemic, because we are trying to use all our field engineers and service repair persons, everyone a bit more effectively, and trying to use them as our listening posts and gather what it is that they are saying, because it is proactive when they are going and repairing, or when they're going and just generally doing servicing of any equipment. They are actually being able to listen in what are the real-time problems. So that is how, and when the final B2B delivery happens to the CEO or the CFO, and you talk about that your organization has struggled with this with us, then this person also is able to relate to this by that personalization to that brand. So I think that has really worked for Philips from post-pandemic. We were trying to do it pre-pandemic as well. But of course, success has been accelerated post-pandemic.
I think I'll support that because even in our domain now, we have started doing surveys which are very persona based. So our customer organization employees to understand how they interact with our machines based on their job profile, and is there something else that we need to look at to enhance that experience, because they are interacting only with product, they're not interacting with us, right? So that is how we are trying to make the difference.
And this is straddling the world of B2B while having a B2C flavor to it, right? It's not really your traditional B2B2C.
That's right.
But the very user-oriented worldview of B2B.
That's right.
Yeah, thank you. I would have opened this out to the panel, but I have an exciting next question that I'm sure the entire panel would like to weigh in. And Fareed, I wanted to point this out to you. Right? Where do you see the transformation happening in the world of service? I need 5 more minutes. Thank you. In the world of service, right? The next 5 years, next time horizon that you can see, where do you see transformation coming up?
Thanks, Sandeep. we recently had our digital meet, and the same question was asked to our CTO, saying that, what do you see is the likely change? We spoke about all the things that we accomplished last 3 years. I wish I could play that video. I mean, it is a very interesting one. But nonetheless, I would want to deliberate on two aspects that I feel that really will go through a lot of transformation. One, sometime, even now, if Ankit and I both Google this with the same keywords, what he sees is going to be different from what I see, right, on Google search. Now the whole cookies thing is going away, and all the personalization a lot of organizations have been depending on will just vanish, right? It's already going. Apple is already blocking access to websites, to multiple apps, and hence the dependence on CDP to create their personalized experience is going to be so much stronger. The seamless information transfer from online to offline, I think that's going to take a huge leap. I'm not saying this because you're on the panel. I know Salesforce is pitching CDP, but I think it's a need of the hour. So I think this is one space that will go through a lot of change. The other one is, we have about 30 first cousins in Bangalore. We're a large family, and my youngest cousin is slightly younger to my daughter, and my oldest cousin is at least 15 years older to me, right? So, but very interesting, right? When we recently caught up over a get-together, over dinner, my aunt started talking about how they've accomplished so much and how their life is so difficult. And her daughter, who is my cousin but way younger, little later after the dinner, she's saying, hey, Farid, I don't know why you all talk about all your struggles. Those are not our problems. It means nothing to us, right? And you feel that we are not, we're not sensitive to all the hardship you go through. And she was saying that, my hardship is social anxiety. When I'm sitting around, I find it difficult if you ask me something in a group. All of them have so gotten used to devices. And a parallel example that I want to quote is that my wife runs a cafe. The cook there earns about 15,000 rupees a month. I don't know how many of us play mobile games. All the current generation, they're a lot into PUBG. He plays Free Fire, right? The amount of money he spends on his clothes physically is not much, counts on the uniform that we give him. But he spent 22,000 bucks over the last 6 months on his avatar in the video game, right? He wants to look cool, right? I think combined with this social anxiety and what they want to identify with in the digital world, and I see a lot of breakups happening because the boyfriend did not like the picture or posted a picture which is not good. It may sound a little less relevant to us, but it's quite prevalent in the in the current youth. With this, I think no, you're younger than most. But with this, while we feel that metaverse is still a distance away, with 5G coming in and a lot of investment, if you look into the mobile games world, that reality is as real as it can get, right? And some weddings that have happened in metaverse. As we evolve more into this space and as it becomes cheaper, I think metaverse is going to be a big thing. I think both these pieces, all of us need to closely watch and probably stay relevant.
I actually wanted to just summarize on 2 quick points which I saw there. One was around personalization, something we all take for granted today, which is going to vanish because of cookies going away.
Sandeep is making the sales pitch.
No, I'm not. I never said CDP. And of course, the second, but all of you didn't hear me say CDP, but the second part, of course, was around the metaverse and the impact that the metaverse is going to have on all our day-to-days. Right? I mean, nobody would have thought of WhatsApp as a official channel for organizations to communicate with customers, right? But it's a reality today, right? Similarly, metaverse can have multiple implications on all of us as businesses as we move forward. So those are the 2 takeaways I want to take away from your chat, Farid. Thank you so much, and I'll now hand it over to Chetan.
Thank you. So guys, I think I think Ankit, you mentioned in your presentation that everything is becoming a commodity, right? I've seen SMS become a commodity. I've seen email become a commodity. What's going to drive the next wave is consumer AI, and all the tools, all the platforms that you see around is going to be a commodity, right? They are supposed to. So there was a time when SMS was a precious, channel of communication. We used to have two-way communication via SMS, right? And we used to pay a premium, right? Now, gone are those days wherein SMS demands or can demand a premium. Similarly, all the platforms are soon gonna be a commodity. What's gonna drive is consumer AI that would be based on the data science technology that we have, right? And that's the future. When you don't decide, you just input the data, you plug in all the systems, all the sources that you have, and the data would then decide which platform to use, who to connect with. Is there a need of a chatbot, WhatsApp as a channel, or SMS, and drive that engagement or drive that tough conversation for us, right? So those are my 2 cents around that. Thank you.
Thank you,
Sure.
Chetan.
May I add something
Yes,
on
please.
this? So, yes, we have talked about a lot of technology here, blockchain on metaverse and those kind of technical words, and it looks very familiar. And nowadays, everybody talks about that. But one thing which I really want to tell or talk about is that which is going to work 5 years down the line, 50 years down the line, 500 years down the line is your engagement with the customer. I will tell you one story, 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝐻 story. I'm sure you all know 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝐻. Do you know 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝐻? I'll tell you who is 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝐻. Have you seen Munna Bhai MBBS?
Yeah.
Now, can you recall 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝐻?
Yep.
The guy who's sweeping, cleaning the floor. What happened? So Munna Bhai went, hugged, and got engaged with that, I would say a customer. Let's think from a customer point of view. These are customers. End of the day, their experience matters. If we really take care of them, we know how to go and talk to them. We know how to engage with them. We know how to take them and tell them that we are there for you. And thank you for being our customer. That really matters, and this is going to really drive the business 5, 50, 500 years down the line. So thank you. I just want to close on this note. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Harkaran. Ankit?
Sandeep, the way I look at it, in the near future, the form factor, of course, over the years have changed, right?
Yeah.
The way we interact with customers, the way the customers interact with us, right? According to me, video and voice, which is the conversational AI, these two would play a crucial role in the near future. And as Fari talked about metaverse, I guess humanizing the digital with metaverse is the long-term, strategy, and everyone should be geared up for that.
Thank you so much.
Couple of points. I think the work from home, MOOC, is going to get much more stronger. Everything will become from home unless required. Human contact is going to be much, much lesser as we move forward. People may meet socially, but won't be for work. That is going to be much lesser. I think even companies have realized the profit part of it, of not making people travel in person everywhere. It helps. But if you ask me, just the way you talked about metaverse, one of the things that I think would happen, and it's already happening in pieces, is machine being intelligent enough to pre-order things if the machine knows something, some component is going to break down, right? Machine being intelligent enough to go and figure out a patch of software that is required for machine to operate smoothly. So customer service per se in the traditional form is also going to change a lot. A lot of these things are going to be, as rightly put, based on the data, machine learning and AI components, right? The traditional way of managing things is going to be much, much limited than what it used to be. And closing on, what you were saying about human interaction or human touch that matters, is it does. So people who have an ability to empathize and a brand which has an ability to go beyond just a product that they sell are going to be the winners. I'll go back 30 seconds. An example I gave about me traveling in Emirates, that I was sleeping and I whole flight almost 2 hours before I got down, and the air hostess actually called me and said, hey, you haven't eaten anything, you haven't had any water, are you all right? I've kept your meal aside. 300 of the passengers. Airline provides service to point A to point B flying and providing food as required. The human component is not part of the service.
Yeah.
But the brand will survive only because there's a customer, there's an employee there who manages to get all the information, analyze, and apply it with the human factor, right? So human factor will survive and thrive. Any brand which goes beyond the product and service with that human factor is what is going to stay.
Thank you. UBS Forum is going to chase us all down, so I'm going to close this out right now. So sorry for the remaining panelists who had a point of view, but I'm sure the audience can reach out to all of you directly to have a conversation. Just wanted to summarize this last conversation, especially innovations in technology are going to drive how we are going to engage, right? What are the different means by which we're going to engage? But what is going to ensure that engagement is effective is the human touch, right? So, dear panelists, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your views with the audience. And to everyone, looking forward to all of you having a great weekend. Thank you.